We have a final agreement document from this work. Would you like to do it?
I call previous question.
Point of information. Is this supposedly going to supersede the motions that were passed 2 weeks ago?
Those are still passed. We can reconsider them or leave them there in case this falls apart. I don't care.
I'm not sure if it's going to fall apart.
It's not part of this motion.
I understand
It's
that.
not pertaining to this motion.
I know, but I still would like to see
Well,
something
maybe
before.
as soon as we vote on this, you can move to act on them or rescind them. I don't. It's up to the will of the whole group, but we're on
The will of the
the
whole
agenda.
group was given 2 weeks ago. And the will of the whole group was not followed. Now, I understand this is kind of a unique situation, but it was really frustrating to me to see that something that was lawfully passed in good faith, okay, is not being enforced by the executive branch. That really concerns me. That is the duty of the executive branch. And it was asked to be done within a week. Even though it wasn't specified in the motion, it was in the discussion. Okay, so I want those previous motions to still stand until we get things clarified and get everything signed on the document.
Is anyone understanding that the motion has been made? I guess those will stand there. It's,
We have to vote on it, Mayor. I mean, what's before us is the amended amendment with the page in it, and the language that Heidi, 2 things she asked to be added into it. That's what's before the table, right?
we already voted on those.
No, we voted on the amendments, but not the major motion.
Yeah, I said, that's what I asked before, it's they wanted to make a motion to,
Well, it's before us. I call previous question, which means let's vote on it. That's what previous question is. It means we vote for whether we're done talking or if we want to keep talking.
so what we have for the council then is the 4th amendment, and local amendment regarding Red Legends property with all the amendments that have been made to it. Is there a motion to accept that document has been modified?
Mayor, I move that we accept the document as it's been modified to include the language that Council Member Franco put in, as well as replace page 12.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Smith to approve 4th amendment interlocal agreement regarding Red Ledges property has been amended, and a second by Councilmember Crittenden. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
1 nay, Councilmember Franco. Motion carries. Agreement passes.
So, can I ask for direction from the council? With the 2 motions that came out last meeting, we have not officially made a written request for the easement, nor have we tried to assemble a committee to meet with the property owners. Is it still the will of council that we proceed with those 2 motions?
Can I speak in support, partial support, I guess, of what Heidi's saying? I think we could leave on the motion to immediately ask for the pipeline. It doesn't matter, we're moving forward, we're agreeing to an agreement. I see absolutely no need and to have a committee to further push against one side or the other. So I guess at this point to that, I would move that we rescind the motion relative to the committee. And I'm not moving to do anything with the other, leave it on the table and direct staff to proceed. But that's what I don't think we need the one for the committee. So I move to rescind it.
Ron,
Takes it 2/3, I think.
could I ask you to amend your motion or consider an amendment? Instead of a committee, I would very much like to have staff review what Red Legends and Stone Creek are doing and make sure that it lines up to the conditions that have already been agreed to by both, so that it's not changing anything that the city has previously required. I just don't feel that we've had really time for other staff members to look at that. And, I want to make sure that the city is still covered that way. With them anyway, or
think that should happen, and also I think that I don't see how two private parties could agree to something that wouldn't meet city standards.
That's what I'm concerned about.
So it's going to have to be done within city standards.
They have no way to agree with that. It's not in their purview. If they sign this agreement, they can't negotiate this agreement away.
Not this one.
Because we had a
I
motion,
know, but
we had a motion on the table, we don't need a second before we start talking about the motion.
Yeah. So Ron has a motion.
I'll second it, Ron.
What we can do is assemble the committee, leave Red Ledges and Stone Creek, and second by Councilmember Bradshaw. We have a discussion on the motion that's been stated.
I think when it comes to the different parts that they wanted to negotiate, I have my own ideas about when those parts should be required for either one of them. Now, that's something that I thought our committee or our negotiation would take place. They're looking to hopefully resolve all these things immediately. That would be terrific. Okay? I just don't know that. And I want to report on it, okay? Because I want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. Because if not, then it will come back to this council in future development cases. Right? I'm assuming so. So, whether we deal with it immediately with some kind of a report, okay, or whether we deal with it in future development phases.
let me clarify something as I see it. We have a motion before us to rescind. We can't amend what we passed before. We can rescind it and re-motion it, but how are we going to amend it? We passed it. So the only way we can really deal with it is to rescind it or not rescind it, and then make the motion to whatever you're addressing. I wouldn't have a problem saying staff ought to look at it, and at least as regards the three things that we've talked about, with them not entering into anything else additional, it's nothing to do with what we've discussed, look at it between the parties, but I'm still not sure why we should be doing that. But that's something you can motion and we can talk about, but it isn't relevant to whether we're rescinding or not. That's something before us now, right?
Rescinding the motion to, in the discussion on the motion that's been stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The committee's been dissolved.
Can I?
Now it's open up for
Another motion, if you
Mayor,
want.
you didn't call for any name votes.
Oh, anybody have a name vote?
No.
One name, excuse me. All right, you're all fine. Okay, the other,
I mean, I think, is it fair to say that if we're in concurrence or not to direct staff to go ahead with the water thing immediately or in the 2 days? And I don't see a problem. We're agreeing and they're agreeing, it'll be in there. But if it makes anyone else happier, it's not a problem. Or on my part, I'd ask staff to do that from my address.
Can I make one comment on this item? Just as, not even being from Red Ledges, just as a citizen, I get a little concerned when I start hearing that government is going to start getting involved in an agreement between two parties, two private parties that are doing a business agreement. I mean, that would be like, I know this good lady here is a real estate agent. That would be like the city coming in and saying, we want to review your contract to sell a private property to a private citizen because it's in the city. And I really don't think that's the place of government at all. Now, we have to abide by all city laws, ordinances, etc. And we will be doing that. We have to build the road in the way that the city approves it. And again, I've already acquiesced to everything that Stone Creek wants, so I'm not sure why this discussion is going forward.
I've had another day or two to read through this, but I got it at 4:21.
Well, there's a
Then
reason-
don't vote on it.
There's a reason for that.
And no, we're not voting on it, it's not.
It's not
their
up for
agreement,
vote.
It's not ours. My only concern is that it matches up to all of the other agreements, just for what you've already agreed to the city. That's all I'm concerned
And
about.
I'm telling you
What you two are doing.
I'd like to explain something on this. It actually would have been out earlier. I asked Rich last week if we could start a draft of this when we agreed to everything. And he
said, no, hold off, we want to review things. I bothered him again on Tuesday, and at that point, he finally acquiesced to let us go ahead and have our attorney put together an agreement. Our attorney turned it around in an amazingly fast time. I mean, with all he has to do, he worked very hard on it. And you know what? He thought he could have it out last night. He didn't make it because of all the other stuff he had. He finally got it out today, less than 2 days from the time we told him to move ahead and put together an agreement. That's a 7-page, very technical, very legal agreement. It would have been done last week if Rich would have allowed us to go ahead on that, but he said they still wanted to consider some of the things that we already acquiesced on. The only item that we had not agreed to at that point in time is that he had asked us to do the initial work by July 1st of this year. We asked for time to go to October 31st, and he wouldn't even allow us to do that.
Now, again, the only reason I say this is I read through a couple of pages and I thought I found a particular sentence that was contradictory to what, was in other agreements that I've read, and that's why it concerns me. Now, I can't pull it out right now.
There's nothing contradictory to this agreement,
so that's why I
this
said
agreement, or the agreement that was originally done in the other one. If we find something that's contradictory, we will change it. Because we can't be contradictory to some agreement that we have with the city.
Well, that was my concern.
Okay.
Three more motions, council, like to make on this subject.
Do you feel directed, Mark? Yeah.
Yes, we will ask for the easement now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think you makes a good point that it's already moving forward, so it's meaningless, but fine, whatever. But it does concern me that we would vote on something and then it would be decided to not move forward. So hopefully in the future we can at least be notified and say, hey, here's what we're thinking. I know you guys wanted us to do this, but here's what we're thinking, because we didn't know that hadn't happened. So that would be helpful.
We had a third legislative body with us, but that's not very nice, actually.
But in clarification, I did indicate in that meeting what Heidi's concern was, and that I was only speaking for me, that I thought it would be taken care of. And I'll acknowledge that much, but Heidi was represented in saying she wanted it already, so that was brought into the meeting.
And I'm not even sure it's worth it. I mean, maybe we should talk about that, because why take the time to send that? I don't know. I mean, if you still feel strongly about it. I don't feel strongly about sending it. It just didn't work.
Okay, and again, it would have been totally separate from the county having to sign off on it and Twin Creeks having to sign off on it, which further delays our simultaneous easement finally being recorded. Okay, that was the difference. It was a timing issue. It was about moving forward with good faith effort. I'm not going to beat this thing to death. I do hope that this is going to be resolved. But I still would like to make the motion, Mayor, that whatever final agreement that Red Ledges and Stone Creek come up with, it is their agreement. But I want to make sure there's nothing contradictory to what they have agreed with the city, because I found that in a sentence that I was reading really fast within 10 minutes before I came to the meeting. Okay, that's all I'm saying. If you just have staff review it, if that's not necessary, if the rest of the council doesn't want to agree, I'm going to give up the committee negotiations, but I just want to make sure that our eyes are dotted and their T's are crossed. That's all.
I think it requires the approval of the Ledges to Stone Creek to provide it to us.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then we'll just wait for future development phases and we'll make sure that everything's lined up.
We have a motion by Councilmember Franco first.
I just changed the motion.
Change the
I just changed it to say we'll deal with it in future development phases. And nobody needs to vote on that.
All right. Okay, thank you. This being now put to rest.
I don't see anything else before us.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rich.